Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream with me, Adley Telfort. Today is July 22nd, 2025. Current time is 7:30 p.m. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently today. As you guys know from my previous podcasts from last week and the one from yesterday, I said I'm not really heavily focused on trading stocks because of all of the information that has been coming out in regards to tariffs and everything else like that that's going on. Uh, but seeing that Powell came out, he sounded very confident that he was going to be staying on board unless he gets fired or forced out. Um, the market reacted very positively to that information, as well as to the fact that some of the earnings reports that have been coming out lately is pretty good. I'm still concerned in regards to the tariffs and all the talk that they have in regards to tariffs. But for right now, I am trading stocks as well as Forex, and I will be focusing on those until the end of the month until August 1st, when the current administration makes a decision in regards to what they're going to be doing with the tariffs. All right. So first things first. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going ahead and we're going to be using our stock screener today to look up some stocks. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to see how fast we can go through some stocks through the screener and look at a few stocks to see if we can pick at least 2 or 3 stocks that we can possibly trade for tomorrow. That's probably set up for that. And then we'll take a look at a couple of Forex as well. All right, we're going to be looking at stocks between the price of $10 and $50 for pricing. That brings us down from 10,200 stocks to 5,285 stocks. Next, we're going to go look at our average volume. We're looking for stocks with an average volume of 1 million. You'll often hear a lot of traders advise you to look for stocks with an average volume of over 2 million. We're looking at 1 million because we want to have a, not so limited amount of stocks when we finish with our screener. So right now that brings us down to 848 stocks. We also want to filter it by country. I'm in the US and I'm only interested in trading US based stocks. So that brings us down to 706 stocks in total right over here. Next, we're going to go over the technicals. And once we're here in technical, we're going to go to our average true range, which is, we're going to set that at $1.50. So we're looking for stocks that move either up or down, an average of $1.50. But that's the minimum. I'm sorry, it moves up or down, an average of about $1.50. But we're looking for stocks that are moving up. The lowest would be $1.50 or higher. And that's on a daily basis. And this number right here for our average true range is calculated based off of a 14-day period, right? So at least for the past 14 days, these stocks have moved above $1.50 on average. And that right there brings us to 92 stocks. So we're looking at a total of 92 stocks from the original 10,000 over 10,200 stocks. And these are the stocks that fit our criteria. These are stocks that are well within our price range. These are stocks that have a good amount of, these are companies that have a decent amount of stocks that it's being sold on a daily basis. Minimum of 100 shares of stocks being sold on a daily basis for the last 30 days. As well as these are stocks that move at least $1.50, whether it moves up or down, but these stocks have a movement of at least $1.50 every day for the last 14 days. And so we have 92 stocks left here. Now, there are 2 types of stocks that I particularly don't trade. One is going to be the healthcare sector, and then the second is going to be ETFs, because you have to do a lot of research with the ETFs. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to technicals. And once we over here in technical, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and filter those from the highest ATR to the lowest ATR, right? And the reason why we do that is because we're looking to buy stocks that way we can maximize our profit or maximize the amount of return that we have. Now, August 1st, we will be having the August 1st, the current administration will make a decision in regards to tariffs. So we don't want to be stuck in these trades for more than a week, maybe a few days, if possible, or even trade them the same day. By nature, I am not a day trader, but if I can buy the stock and get out of it within the same day or the next day, that'll be great. The closer we get to August 1st, the least amount of stocks I want to be in. At least I want to stay away from shipping, manufacturing, as well as retail stocks the closer we get to August 1st, because those are the things that really are going to be affected by the tariffs. So here we have a list of stocks. This particular stock right here, BMNR, it's moved for the last 14 days an average of about $15.75, which is a little bit unusual. It's really high. And that could be because when we look at the sector, it can be a unique sector. And then after this, you see we have $6.56 all the way down to the first 20 stocks. The lowest is $2.99. So the lowest stock that we have on the first 20 picks, the lowest that stock move is about $3, right? So I can trade and I can just look up these stocks here in particular. But what I want to do is, in order to save myself some time, now that I've gone to technical, I filter my ATR. I want to go back over to overview. And here in my overview, I can see what sectors these stocks belong to. It's in the exact same order that we left it from technical. But now I'm able to see the sectors, which are very important because I want to avoid ETFs, which are these right here. And I also want to go ahead and I want to avoid anything with healthcare. And so we have 5 pages. Let's see how quickly we can filter through these 5 pages. All right. The first one we're going to be looking at is BMNR. BMNR. So we're going to go over to trading view and we're going to type in BMNR. And we're going to pull that up. All right. And when we pull this stock up over here, what we're looking for, and these indicators, you'll find them if you sign up for my course on Udemy, which is called Stock Trading Simple Beginner Guide. You'll see that in the upper right-hand corner right there. If you sign up for my course, I've had over 886 students sign up for the course. And there you'll learn to set up your charts the way I have my chart set up, and also be able to read the chart. So you'll be able to look at these stocks that we're looking at on our screener and quickly filter through them to see if it's a stock that you would buy, that you would avoid, just simply by looking at our moving averages here, which are color coded. Moving averages, red lines at the bottom pointing straight up means we're up in an uptrend. Red lines at the top pointing straight up means we're in an uptrend, confirms we're in an uptrend. When the red line crosses over and the red line is pointing down, and the green line's at the bottom and it's pointing down, lets us know that we're in a downtrend. So we'll show you how to set up your moving averages that way. We'll also show you how to set up your area of support, which are the blue lines here, and your area of resistance, which are the red lines here, as well as your RSI. RSI basically lets you know, is an early indicator of letting you know whether or not you're in a possible uptrend or you're in a possible downtrend. The red dotted line that you see here on our RSI is basically the 50 mark. And as long as our RSI is above the 50, it may come down and test it. But once it moves that back above the 50, it lets you know that you're on the uptrend. Once the RSI moves below the 50 and it starts to point down and stays below the 50, it's an early indication that we are in a possible downtrend or the beginning of a downtrend. All right. So with this one, we can quickly look at it. We can tell that we were in the uptrend. Green line starting to point down. They're starting to consolidate in this area. So that's an early indicator that we may be in a possible downtrend. Also, our RSI is pointed lower. The second thing is, if we look at this particular stock, you can see where it was normally between the $11.70 price range and the $3.36 price range. Something happened recently around this area that caused the stock to just jump up. So that's abnormal movement right there, and that's why this one has a high ATR of about $15 over here. Okay, so we're not even going to bother looking at that because this is unusual, and we'll have to dig into it to see what happened. But if you look here where we have the E, an earnings report came out, and when that earnings report came out, the stock jumped really high up to $160. Wow, that's a lot of movement. All right, so we're not even going to bother looking at that. Either the earnings report came out and caused that to happen, or some type of really positive news caused that to happen, but it pulled back very quickly. So too much volatility for my blood. The next stock that we're going to look at on our screener is going to be SBET, which is SBET. This is a gambling stock, consumer. Okay, so we're going to go over here. I'm going to type in SBET. And here we're going to go ahead and pull that up. Now that the same thing here, we have on average, this stock is pretty low, and it's pretty low over here. And then right around May, something happened, caused it to jump all the way up. And then all of a sudden, it came back down as quickly as it went up. So this one right here, we'll have to do a lot more research into it. But when I see stuff like this with a gambling company, that's typically maybe, okay, so you have earnings report that came out over here, nothing happened. So that's typically like a new acquisition. If they open up a new hotel or they open up a new casino, something like that can cause to cause this jump. So with stuff like this, which is similar to healthcare stock, if they're releasing a new medicine or a new vaccine, it can cause the stock price to jump up. But after all the hype dies down in a few days, everything gets sold off. So I am not even looking at going to look at trading this particular one. These are the ones that you kind of want to look at and just stay away from. All right. And this is stuff that you learn if you take the course that I have on Udemy, which is called Stock Trading Simple Beginner Guide. Next thing that we're going to be stock that we're going to be look at is number 3 is going to be SMC. That's an ETF, exchange trade fund. We're not going to even bother looking at that. Then we have Voyager, VOYG. So let's take a look at that one. VOYG, Voyager. Let's see here. What's going on with Voyager? Voyager, we're not even going to bother trading that or even looking at trading that. The reason for that is because, as you can see, Voyager just became listed June of this year, June 11th of this year. It got listed on the stock market. So there's not enough history right here for us to even trade that stock. And these are some of the things that you want to look at as well, as far as saying, okay, well, this stock is new to the market. There's not enough history. There's not enough information so that we can kind of make a decision on in regards to technical analysis. So if you trade the stock right now, you're really just trading on hope. All right, no real clear information. Next one I'm going to look at is number 5. Number 5 is going to be DFDV. All right, let's go here. That's going to be DFDV. DFDV. Let's take a look here. Okay, so with this particular stock, what are we looking at here? We are in an uptrend. This stock over here back in April, this stock was always in this price range right over here. It did break through it, but it was a gradual breakthrough. Okay, so it was not like the other stocks that we've seen where they were here and then they were all the way up here and they didn't have this gradual, increase. So when you see stuff like this happening, that lets you know that it's a real increase. It's not something that's based off of, market manipulation or anything like that. This is something that happened because the company made some announcement or something's going on with the company. But this is like a real uptrend right here. Okay. Now over here, we can see that we have our moving averages crossed over, green lines on top, starting to point up, red lines at the bottom is pointing down. So it's not clear that it's in a positive straight uptrend. So I would not trade that right now. I would just keep an eye on that, because if you also look at our RSI over here, the RSI is below the 50 and it's not a clear break above the 50 and pointing up. So that's a red flag for me. And this is on a 4-hour time frame. Now, if we switch over to the daily time frame, on our daily time frame, we can see that the green line was on top. It's pointing straight up. Red lines at the bottom, pointing straight up, which is our moving averages. Lets us know that we're in an uptrend. Here, it consolidated. So it looks like we're about to have a crossover where the moving averages, the red line is going to cross over and it's going to be on top, and the green line is going to be on the bottom. And as they start pointing down, then we know that we're in a clear downtrend. And as well as right here with our RSI, you can see it's sitting right here on the 15 like we talked about. So that may be breaking down. If it breaks down below that, that'll be an early indicator that we are in a downtrend, and then we can go from there. So this stock, I wouldn't look at it, because it looked like we're about to break down into a downtrend. If there was an option to short it, to put a put, I would do that. But I wouldn't, I'm not going to get into that conversation, because, these videos are more for beginner traders, people who are just able to buy and not really short. But if you did want to short this one, you can do a put on an option if there was an option available for this one. Next stock that we're going to be looking at is going to be, let's take a look here. Aero Defense, Aero AIRO. Let's take a look here. AIRO. Let's take a look at this particular stock here. Boom. All right. Not enough information on this stock. It was just listed on June 13th of last month. So we're not even going to bother trading that one or even looking at that one. Next one is going to be an ETF, which is number 7. That's an ETF. Number 8 is also an ETF. Number 9, that's a shell company. So we're not even going to bother looking at that one. And then we have number 10, SMR. SMR. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, SMR. Boom. SMR. All right, SMR. What are we looking at here? So let's see. SMR has a lot of history happening there. Our moving averages, green lines on the top, pointing straight up, red lines at the bottom. That's also pointing up. Lets us know that we're in a clear downtrend. It did break through this area of resistance, which is right over here. Now we have another area of resistance over here. It just broke through it. It did a pullback. And right here on our RSI, and we're on a daily time chart, our RSI is pointing down. So it looks like it may come and test the 50 mark, which is the red dotted lines that you see over here. Once it tests that, if it starts to bounce back off of it and starts to point back up, then I'll buy it because I know that the uptrend is going to continue. Now, this stock did close at 44.44, and during the post market, it did go up to 45, 22. So that's okay. All right. So let's go from there. All right. So the next one that we have is going to be, all right, let's take a look here. Next stock that we're going to be looking at will be, what we got? Number 11, INOD. INOD. All right. So this particular stock over here. All right, so the price on this stock, let's see how that one's doing. This stock right now is currently in an uptrend, moving averages, green lines on top, pointing straight up, red lines at the bottom, pointing straight up. So it lets us know that we're in the uptrend with our moving averages. Here's an area of resistance, but if you look over here in our purple, our RSI, with our RSI, the RSI is pointing down. The RSI is pointing down. The RSI is pointing down, and it's below the 50 mark on the RSI. So that kind of lets us know that we may be going and transitioning into a downtrend. So what we need to do is we need to keep an eye on this to see what's happening here. If the price point drops below the area of resistance over here, which is roughly at the price 42.04, then we know that we're going to be going possibly into a straight downtrend. But right now, we just need to keep an eye on it to see what happens with this particular stock. All right. So what I'm going to be doing here to add this on my watch list is I'm just going to go ahead and just highlight this area right here with a red line, just so we know that this is an area of resistance. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be keeping an eye on it, and we're going to add in an alert right here. And this alert is going to let us know if the price comes down to this point. Once it comes down to this point, we're going to keep an eye on this. And we're also going to look at our RSI and see if it bounces off this area of resistance and starts back up on an uptrend. If it breaks below this area of resistance and it continues going down, then we know that we're in a downtrend. Let's look at this on our 4-hour time frame. On our 4-hour time frame, how does it look? 4-hour time frame look like it's going to be look like we are going to be going into a downtrend, because on our 4-hour time frame, it's an early indicator that we're going to be going into an uptrend or a downtrend. But right here, you can see it's broken below the moving averages. Our RSI is well below the 15, so and it's been there for a couple days since last week, Friday. So that lets us know that we may be in a possible downtrend, like straight downtrend, where, you know, this may be a turnaround point. So we need to keep an eye. So with that, I wouldn't even bother well, I can, but I'll just go ahead and I'll just take that off for right now. And let's just take that away because we can see that we're in a clear downtrend. Next stock that we're going to be looking at will be, this is a healthcare. Number 12 is a healthcare stock. Number 13 is a ETF, which we do not trade. Number 14 is another healthcare stock. And then number 15, we have AEVA. And that's going to be AVEA. That is the stock, right? Yeah. What is that stock again? It's going to be AEVA. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's going to be AEVA. All right. So let's go here. And this is the stock. Now let's take a look, see what's happening here. So this particular stock, we are in the uptrend. Moving averages is pointing up. Moving averages pointing up. Green lines on top pointing straight up. Red lines at the bottom is pointing straight up. Our price point, though, it's right in between the moving averages. And over here on our RSI, and we're on a daily time chart, RSI is right here on the 50 mark. If it breaks below this, could be an early indication that we are going to be in a possible straight downtrend. But from there, we can actually go over to our 4-hour time frame. In our 4-hour time frame, like I said, it's an early indicator of whether or not we're in a downtrend. And you can see here we have the crossover. It went from the green line being on top, pointing straight up, and the red line being at the bottom, pointing straight up, to where the red line is currently on top and the green line's at the bottom. But the green line's pointing down, the red line is not pointing down. So we're not in a clear downtrend. But our RSI lets us know that this is the beginning of a possible downtrend because the RSI is well below the 50 mark. So if I was to do anything with this stock, I would either do a short or I would do an option and do a put, saying that I believe that the stock is going to be coming down. All right. This is not a stock that I would buy, saying that I believe the stock is going to be going up. Next one that we're going to be looking at is going to be number 16. Number 16 is a healthcare stock. I wouldn't necessarily trade that. I say we don't trade healthcare stocks. And maybe in one of my other videos or my other lives, I'll show you why we don't do the healthcare stocks. Number 17 is another healthcare stock, which we don't trade. And then we have number 8. You know what? Then we have number 18. Number 18 is SYM. SYM. Let's take a look at this particular stock right here. SYM. This particular. Okay, so let's load that up. And let's see here. Okay, so this is a pretty good stock to look we can possibly buy. So moving averages, green line is on top, pointing straight up. Red line's at the bottom, pointing straight up. And then if you look at our RSI over here, and we're on a 4-hour time frame, it just bounced off the 50 mark and it's pointing up. So it's letting us know that there's a change around and the stock is looking like it's going to be going up and continuing the uptrend. And this is on our 4-hour time frame, which is an early indicator that we are continuing the uptrend. Let's look at it on our daily time frame because we're going to be planning on holding this stock for a few days. So we always have to trade on our daily time frame. On the daily time frame, you can see that once again, RSI is pointing straight up. Green line's on top, pointing straight up. Red line's at the bottom, pointing straight up. Price point is well above the RSI. Well above the moving averages. But here on our RSI, it looks like we still have some room for pullback. And what I mean by the pullback is with the RSI, it can come down as low as to the 50 and then start to bounce back up. As you can see, it did that here. The RSI kind of hits the 50, bounces back up, comes back down a little bit. It hits the 50 mark, bounces back up, it comes down. So these are your pullbacks when it comes down. And that's why you see the red lines here, because it always does that. It never just goes straight up. It always has a little bit of a pullback, up and down movement. So we could have another pullback here where it starts to bounce back up. But if you go over to our 4-hour time frame, you will see where it just hit it and it's going up. So on our 4-hour time frame, it already bottomed out with the pullback and now it's going back in an upward trend. So you could buy this stock. And another indicator that you could buy the stock is because if you notice, the stock closed at $49.40. And that was at 4 o'clock, but during the post market hours, it went up to $49.80. So that's also a good indicator that this is a good stock to buy as well. So you can buy the stock first thing in the morning. And if you were to buy the stock first thing in the morning, let's take a look here. Does this stock have any history of being in this price area? It does. So this stock has been in this price area before. So I would probably say you can sell that at about, I'll say about 50. I said I wouldn't go no higher than 55. Could probably get out of it around 55 because these are old areas of resistance. And since they're so old and long time ago, the stock is probably going to it's going to hit it and probably hover around here for a day or two, but then bounce back, continue going up. So it's more than likely it's going to close. I think this right here will probably be one of the stronger points because a lot of people are going to look at it like this is close to the highest that the stock has ever been, which is around like the stock highest price has ever been is 63. So around 55, I'll probably get out of the stock and not wait for it to get up here into this area and just sell it right around there. Okay. Let's see what other stocks we have available. Also, just as a heads up, when you see stuff like this, where a stock is getting close to its highest point, which will be about 63, you want to sell it early. You don't want to wait for it to get to that highest point or make new highs on you, because a lot of traders, they would get kind of scared when they see it getting closer to its highest point, which is around 63, and they would normally sell off the stock because they don't know what's going to happen at that point, because it's never been it's never been as high. It's never been past the 63 price point. So a lot of people will sell the closer it gets to that high level, which is the highest point it's ever been. The last one that we're going to be the last two that we're going to be looking at, number 19 is IONQ. IONQ. Let's take a look at that stock. IONQ. And with this particular one over here, we have our moving averages, green lines on top. Let's go ahead and increase that. Increase the size of that. So here you can see our moving averages, green lines on top, moving up, red lines at the bottom, moving up. But you see this curvature right over here at the tip of this green. And let's go ahead and see if we can increase that size so everybody can see that. So as you guys can see right over here, there's this curvature in the green line, which starts to point down. And that's an early indicator that we may be turning around from that uptrend and probably start to going into a downtrend. And this is on our 4-hour time frame. And if you look over here, we're well below that red dotted line, which is the 50. So that's also an early indicator that we may be in a downtrend. So let's look at that on our daily time chart. On our daily time chart, right here on our daily time chart, if we actually kind of zoom out a little bit, we can see on our daily time chart, green lines on top pointing straight up, red lines at the bottom pointing straight up. But here it's right in the middle of our moving averages, the green line and the red line. Here on our RSI, it's touching the red line, which is the 50 mark. So what I would do is I would keep an eye on that tomorrow to see if it actually bounces off there and it starts to move back in the upward trend. If it doesn't bounce off of this 50 mark, which is these red dotted lines here, and it bounces up and it breaks through it and it starts going down, then I know that we're in a downtrend. But if it starts to bounce off of it and starts to point back up, then I would buy it because I know that we're in a possible uptrend, and I will buy it here at the price of $52.83, which is where it's at. And I will sell it right around $48. And the last one that we're going to look at on this list is going to be RKLB. That's going to be RKLB. All right. Let's take a look at that one. And here, this is another possible good stock to buy. We're looking at it on our daily time chart. Here we can see our moving averages, green lines on top pointing straight up, red lines at the bottom, it's pointing straight up. We do have a little bit of a pullback here. The stock closed at $46.88. Post-market, after the market closed, the stock went up to $47.50. Here on our RSI, it's well above the 50. And it looks like it may be doing a little bit of a pullback, coming back down here to the 50 mark, and then it may jump back up. But right now it doesn't. It looks like we are of a strong uptrend, and the uptrend is going to continue. When we want to confirm that, we're going to go over to our 4-hour time frame. And in our 4-hour time frame, we can see that we still have the green lines on top pointing straight up, red lines at the bottom pointing straight up. We had the pullback right here where it came down and it touched our moving averages. But here on our RSI, you can see where the purple line is about. It came close to our 50, which are the red dotted lines, and now it's starting to point in the upward direction, letting us know that the uptrend is going to continue. So I would buy this stock first thing in the morning at $46.86 unless anything changes. All right. So that's going to be it for right now. As you can see, we had a total of 92 stocks from the original 10,200 stocks. We had a total of 5 pages. And right, we started this live at 7:30, and within 30 minutes, not only did we set up our screener and filter through the 10,200 stocks down to 92 stocks, but we were able to go through the first page, and that's just with me breaking things down with you guys and explaining to you um, why I would look at certain stocks and why I wouldn't look at certain stocks. If you guys are interested in learning how I have my charts set up here so we can easily identify these things, if you're interested in that and you look in the top right hand, if you take my course that's available currently on Udemy, which is called Stock Trading Simple Beginner Guide, you'll learn how to set up the stock your charts like this. I'll teach you how to use the stock screener to filter through the stocks. And on top of that, you'll get access to my live streams that I do Monday through Thursday at 7:30. Well, Monday through Thursday, I do live stock screeners for the public at 7:30. But then you'll also have access to me to live stream in private, where I only train my students on additional things, and we actually pick stocks and we discuss those stocks in detail as well. I also have my book that I wrote, which is called Better Thinking Habits, Introduction Edition. It's also a great book to read if you're interested in being a trader. It teaches you how to look at things from a very positive way and how to look at things from the perspective of reality. Like I tell all of my students who have taken the course, if you want to be a trader, you have to be up to date in with reality, what's going on in the news, what's going on with whether it's geopolitical, whether it's local news, and you have to be able to understand how people perceive certain things that happen in the news. Because there's a lot of times when something happens, if you're looking at it from a very narrow-minded point of view, and you're just looking at it from how you would typically look at stuff, then what's going to happen is if you're trying to use that information to trade, then you're going to probably end up on the wrong side of on the wrong side of the trade. But if you're able to sit there and say, okay, well, how is the market going to review this? How are banks, how are traders, how are business owners going to perceive this information or this news that came out? Then you'll be able to make better trades and you'll be able to look at things from a more realistic point of view. But I don't want to get into that too much. That's the psychology of trading. But I thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place.